You're listening to Chasms of the Mind, a show where I, Chas Bruns, ask my guests random questions about life. Enjoy. Cool. Good?
I'm good.
We look so professional with our headphones on. This is the episode 1A with my good friend Ian Curless. Luckily, he was free today. Tom Hanks was going to be the guest. Everybody thinks he's such a nice guy. He's a flake. Canceled. So
I think he's like typewriter shopping right now. Like,
he
thrifting.
always has excuses about different things. Whenever we want to hang out, he's like, "Oh, well, I'm Tom Hanks," and cancels. So luckily, you were available.
Well, yeah.
We have some phones duct taped to tripods that we kind of jury rigged, so we don't know how long they'll run. So we might cut out on some video here, but hopefully the audio keeps on running. And I've got a little sheet here because we don't have a format as of yet. Ian and I have taken the past weekend to decide whether we should even do this, and we don't know what we're going to talk about. So I think the most important thing that we need to definitely start with is I wanted to have you explain your concept of why overalls are so amazing. So I'll let you start with that.
Oh, well, before I get into that, which is very important, I just want to say that this is incredibly low stakes. So it's okay that there's no format.
There's no format,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah.
There's literally nothing on the line.
Correct. We're mostly testing equipment here. Which, by the way, to rewind, before you go into your overalls. So Ian and I have known each other pretty much our whole lives. Is it third grade? I don't remember which grade
It would be sixth grade is where we came
What?
together. It's sixth grade.
No, it's younger than that.
No.
Okay, I trust you. This is something else you should know. Ian has a pretty good memory. I do not have a good memory of anything. My memory is miserable.
Positive.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. So, talk about overalls.
Okay, overalls.
Yeah.
It started off as a Halloween costume, as a tribute to another podcast.
To Dax Shepard.
And I quickly realized that women have had a very large advantage over us for a long time. I realized how freeing it was not to have a belt or a waistband constricting my waist for an entire day. It's amazing. There's no other piece of clothing in men's fashion that I know of, at least in American men's fashion,
Yes.
that mimics this.
Yes, and this is why I wanted to bring it up.
Women have dresses. They
Yes.
have other things that don't constrict their waistband. This is insane how comfortable my days are when I wear overalls. I wish I didn't get farmer comments or mechanic comments. But man, it's freeing. I didn't know that was a problem I had in my life of waistbands.
Yes.
Holding me back, but it's 100%.
Yeah, so I'm down here actually helping Ian. Ian has purchased a home, and we were doing some projects. I live in Bangor, Maine. We're down in Gorham, Maine right now at Ian's house. And so he was talking about these overalls yesterday, and he had another pair for me to wear. And when he was mentioning this, I'm in my head thinking like, yeah, okay, like I guess it's nice not to have a belt. But if you're a guy out there that has not tried overalls, give them a whirl, because what he says is true. Women, whether it's a sundress or a jumper or whatever, they have options to not have that belt.
There you go.
If you picture your grandfather or some old guy that has been around forever with this huge beer pot belly, yes, sure, some of it is probably beer and bad food. But in my brain, I've got this conspiracy theory that belts and where you wear them and how tight they are, your gut eventually slowly drips over it, and you get the man.
I don't know if the
thing
science is there to support that.
Once again, this is my conspiracy theory of fashion. But that
the
means,
visual assessment,
right?
I understand why you would think that.
And so now, as a man, now that you've pointed this out to me, I almost want. I'm not going to wear overalls every day, but part of me is like, oh my god, get rid of the belt. Like I'm going to get my stomach's going to hang over my pants.
Every day's
as
tough.
I age.
Every day's tough. If you are if you're a fashion designer and you happen to have somehow gotten a hold of this podcast, please,
which is very likely.
It's extremely
This is going to become
likely.
one of the #1 fashion podcasts out there.
Please work in designing nice cut, but still loose enough fitting, comfortable men's everyday fashion bit, and we're talking about. I just want to specify this because I learned this about overalls. People will call them coveralls or overalls, and they'll think about multiple things. I think the word coverall is associated with like what Mike Myers, the Halloween serial murderer,
yes.
Wears, like a mechanic's like flight suit, jumpsuit, kind of all one thing with sleeves.
Yeah.
These are specific. I'm specifically talking about bib overalls. So like strap over each shoulder, you got the bib there. And I will say that there are different cuts out there. They're not all created equal.
That is
I went through a few different pair before I found the ones, and I will say I'm gonna officially endorse Carhartt.
Well, also, I want to make it clear that Ian is talking based on comfort. I am going just off the fact that I'm afraid I'm going to get a gut.
I think they look good, too.
Belt,
I'm not going to lie. In certain situations, I think I look... Yeah, I think it looks cool.
For you as well. All right.
Somewhat.
Also, I'm gonna cut us off here because we've already spent about 5 minutes longer on the overalls than I expected. We've never done this, so I don't know how long the phones will record.
I'm sorry, I thought this was coveralls with Chas Bruns.
Well, I mean, I'm going to talk about overalls every episode that I ever make for sure. But no, my laptop, I don't know. I just hit record and it could stop at any moment. So we're going to move on to the next topic here. I'll get a few topics in on this. I'm hoping to have a 30-minute episode here, but. We were talking last night, or I guess first night I got here, and Ian is now a hot sauce fan, loves hot sauce. And he whips out, I'm sure you guys have seen, this is 2019, we'll be releasing this. In 2019, the Facebook and Instagram newsfeed is full of this truffle oil hot sauce. I think it won Oprah's #1 favorite thing in 2018. And I was hesitant, and I'm sure many of you are when you see anything in your Facebook newsfeed, whether it's a scam or it's good or whatnot. It's probably the best hot sauce I've ever had. It made us start talking about truffles, and I said, because I was pouring it on what I was eating, and I looked at Ian, I'm like, oh gosh, this is yours. Is this really expensive? Is this real truffles? I'm expecting it to be like a $60 to $100 bottle. And he's like, oh yeah, it's really pricey. And then we went and looked, and it was like $15, and I'm like, oh, so it must not be real truffles, which brings me to the topic of conversation I want Ian's opinion on. I'm a conspiracy theorist about everything. I have a conspiracy theory similar to diamonds. Diamonds, as far as I understand, I could be wrong on this if you're a diamond expert listening, but from what I understand, the major companies can have diamonds and hoard them and keep them in vaults so that they keep the demand high and therefore the price of diamonds high. Like, I guess there's actually thousands upon thousands of diamonds out there, and they're not really as precious or rare as you'd think. So this brings me back to the truffles now. I, once again, could be wrong. If you're a truffle expert, please, comment in the comments, let us know. They always say that truffles can't be grown, that you have to take a pig or a special trained dog to go out in the forest and find these truffles, and that's why they're so expensive. Like a white truffle or a black truffle can be like $1,000 depending on the size. And I am calling out the truffle industry right now on this podcast, and I want Ian's opinion. I personally think somebody out there knows how to grow these damn things. Like, we can go to the moon, but we can't figure out how to grow a truffle. Somebody's growing truffles. I don't know if they're as high quality as the one the pigs find, but somebody's growing them and hoarding them and selling them for big bucks. Ian, what's your take?
Okay, well, this is expert. By the way, this is expert testimony that you're going to be getting from me.
Ian and I just to clarify, Ian and I are really experts. And I'm speaking for myself here. I am a jack of all trades and expert in nothing. So do not expect any expert advice here. This is us truly shooting the shit with one another. So this is Ian's personal opinion. He has, as far as I know, no expertise in the truffle.
No, Chaz, I'm sorry. You don't live with me, and you don't know that.
Ian secretly is the one that is growing the truffles.
Yeah.
It is now out. It has been released.
Truffles. I will say this. First of all, you have officially had more of that hot sauce than I have. I got that.
I'm okay with it. I don't feel bad. It was really good and tasty.
February 10th that we're recording this. Yes. I got that as a Christmas gift. I've had a little bit of it. It is, but it is tasty. I think truffle is a extremely powerful flavor. I think it overtakes things.
Yes. And I wouldn't have expected it to work with hot sauce, honestly.
You love it.
But it did.
You love it. And I knew that you were going to like it. Especially, I have like 24 hot sauces. Out of all of them, I was like, Chas Bruns is going to love this.
I worked at an Italian place where they used real ones, and it was like, there's something about it. I don't have the money, but if I did, I would pay the big bucks for the real stuff. I just want to put that out there, that it's that crazy good to me.
You used to put it, when I distinctly remember visiting you in Brooklyn, and you put it on your microwave popcorn. So
I forgot about that. I did
So,
do that. Which now that I'm remembering I need to do that again. That's really good. Yeah, that is.
All right.
Good
So pro tip
thing.
from Chas: put it on your microwave.
You have to get a
popcorn.
spray bottle. You can't just like drizzle it on. Well, I guess you could drizzle it on.
Back to my expert testimony on truffles. I don't know a thing about how they're grown.
Yeah.
I have them very rarely.
Let me interrupt again. Is it
obviously-
a plant? It grows just like a plant, right? Like it's like a mushroom.
It's a mushroom. It's a
So
fungus.
It's not a flower. It's like It's in the ground. It's buried underground, right?
I believe so.
Okay.
Because pigs have to root it out.
Yeah. So it's not a byproduct of something else. You know what I mean? Like it's not a fruit of a bigger tree.
I believe,
like it's
I believe
root.
it is a low growing mushroom.
Well, but mushrooms come up out of the soil. This stays underground, right? Like a foot or two.
I don't know if it's
So it's like a root?
Again,
I don't know.
My expertise is.
But once again, no matter
vast.
what it is, like a potato, we can figure out how to do that.
But the whole point where you were leading to this is
Yes,
that you're mad because you're not sure that it's real.
Yeah, or that we should be
oil,
paying that price for
that it's like some sort of manufactured essence and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't. If you get the taste that you want and it's not harmful, I don't think it's that big of a deal.
Oh no! I don't care that.
Do I think that
it's more price?
Some sort of industry? No, I think they're probably hard to grow.
Yeah.
In a controlled environment, it seems it would seem that way, which was why, it's a demand, low supply, high demand. So obviously, any industry is going to charge the most that somebody's willing to pay. It's all you and I. This is a completely side topic, but you and I both know and have had many discussions that it's all arbitrary as to how much something is worth. It's just a matter of what somebody's willing to pay for it, and if you're on the selling end, whether or not you have the nuts to charge somebody that much for it.
Correct, but here's my thing with it. Okay, as far as I know, and I could be wrong. Correct. Once again, correct Ian or I if we're wrong about anything in this podcast.
Those are metaphorical nuts. I'm equal opportunity women.
Oh, God.
I don't want to get in trouble on my first podcast.
It's fine. This is
if you have the audacity, if you have the gall.
There you go. Not the nuts.
To charge an exorbitant amount of money for just something that you found in the dirt.
But so here's my thing with that. Okay, as far as I know, the people who harvest these truffles claim that you cannot grow them. Like that it can't be done.
Yeah, I don't
know. That's what I'm arguing.
I imagine,
it's like a plant, we can figure out how to do
that. That sounds unlikely. It sounds more likely that it would stand to reason that it would be more that it's incredibly difficult to replicate what happens.
Yeah. Okay. And to go back to your essence thing.
That could be just all a line of bullshit to upcharge. You could be right about that.
Yeah, and I want to clarify to go back to your essence thing because Anthony Bourdain gets really angry about oils infused with these. Like, it's not real truffle, and I think Gordon Ramsay, same thing. To me, if you can fool me, I'm fine. Like, when I spray that stuff in my popcorn, if it's not real truffle, I don't care because it smells enough like it that I'm happy.
As long as it's not harmful chemicals.
So it's less about the quality of the truffle to me and more that it's like when I go to get a patate pizza with truffle oil on it, they're like, oh, that's $60, sir. And it's like, come on, you can grow these things, I'm sure.
I would have a problem with somebody charging me the price equivalent of something that's authentic for something that is not.
Yes, and
that's
I understand that I'm a little lazier.
But buyer beware.
Yeah, if they can fool me, I'm fine with being fooled. Okay, we done with truffles? You want to move on to the next thing? Oh, this is a funny name. I'm curious if you're actually correct about this. But rope cock. I had not heard. I have some rental units, and I do carpentry as my other job outside of the entertainment stuff, and I feel embarrassed. I've never heard of rope cock. To me, it looks like plumber's putty. Am I saying the name correctly? It's Ian has rope cock. To me, looks like
cock.
Plumber's putty.
C-A-U-L.
Yes, I know, not C-O-C-K.
Yeah.
No, I'm pronouncing it wrong, but
you're saying it right. It's rope cock. It comes in a roll.
Yes.
It's about an inch wide.
Yep.
They're little tiny, like Twizzler like consistency.
Yes.
And it adheres when you give it to pressure, but it doesn't like completely stick or leave a lot of residue. So it's great.
Now, are you using
winterizing.
it? I was gonna say, are you using it for that purpose, or that's what it's made for?
That's what it's made for.
Okay. So to clarify, because we haven't really said yet, I saw it in Ian's windows. If anybody has drafty windows, he put all this rope cock in the seams of the windows, and I guess you just remove it in the spring, but it stops the draft from coming in. Correct?
Yeah. absolutely.
Okay. So the reason I'm mentioning it is in all my years doing all the stuff I've done, I've never seen it before. And to me, I kind of thought Ian was ingenious and had just taken plumber's putty and filled the seams. But so this is a product actually designed
It's
for that,
designed for that. I imagine that if you were to do that with plumber's putty is, I would say, probably more applicable for permanent adhesion. So
No, not usually. Plumber's putty, because it goes bad after a while. Like the crack, it'll start to dry out and crack. And so plumbers, half the time somebody has a leak, the plumber actually comes over and scrapes out the old plumber's putty that was there and puts new stuff in. But the one thing that you did just make me think of, though, in terms of damage, is that plumber's putty, I think, based on what you put it on, can change the coloring. So if you've got vinyl windows, it might leave a gray mark. So this rope
this
caulk,
stuff
you can take it out and it's no big
absolutely.
deal. So
I've used it on this house, at several apartments that I had before.
and you believe it works. You're saving heat energy.
Okay, so it's minor.
Yeah.
It's absolutely minor, but yeah.
Okay.
It keeps cold air from blowing in. It's an old trick. It doesn't. It's no substitute for getting brand new windows, but we're a little ways from that.
Yes. Yes.
But yeah, no, you can physically feel draft coming in beforehand, and afterwards that draft is not. It's kept out.
So there you have it. Just wanted a quick mention of Rope Caulk, who are sponsoring this episode.
Yeah, this is sponsored by Rope Caulk, Caulk.
Yes.
It comes in one color. It's very thin, and skinny. It's gray.
Which I will clarify. We do not have any sponsors for this show. Just want to make that clear in case you assumed that we did.
Well, if you were looking for somebody to give you money in exchange for promoting their products,
yes,
Rope Caulk would be somebody you'd be interested in.
Yes, I would be interested in hearing from them. And my email is chasbruns@gmail.com.
I think a prominent brand is Frost King, I believe. They're all things winterizing windows.
Oh,
and also we're drinking CBD infused tea.
We are drinking CBD infused tea.
So if you want to give Chas money to talk about things and promote your CBD infused anything, his email again is, what was your email again? chasbruns@gmail.com. Perfect.
I'm going to rush us.
What's your next topic?
Hold on, I'm going to rush us to a transition here because this is an important one that I just saw on my list. I talked Ian into this. I hope if I'm forcing you to, because this is always strange for people that are related to celebrities. But I think in general, this podcast, if I choose to continue it, this may never see the light of day. But if I go from here, I assume my podcast will be mostly entertainment and kind of continue down that road of music and film. Ian happens to have a superstar in the family, and I wanted him to come up with just one little story about Dick Curless, country music legend. Ian Curless shares the same name, and a lot of the same titles, honestly.
You want one story?
Whatever, yeah, it can be funny, can be just something you remember him doing. I just want something for the fans of him to say, oh yeah, I saw his grandson.
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. Most of his fans
are dead. Yes.
They're probably okay. Well, this is an ageist statement, but I feel like podcasts are relatively new media.
Yes.
It takes a little bit of savvy to get to it. Some people listen to podcasts. I've definitely described podcasts to my parents.
Yes.
Who are younger than my grandfather.
Yes.
Would have been, or anybody that would have been his peer. But in the off chance that they're listening to a podcast,
you never know.
Then I would love to talk to the few that are around in that Venn diagram.
I'm going to put Dick Curless in the metadata and the tags on YouTube. So somebody, if they're searching for Dick Curless YouTube, it could come up.
All right, perfect.
So you know.
Stories about him.
Yes.
Well, first of all, he's an extremely tall man, and I'll also say he passed when we were in 6th grade.
And so just before you continue as well, give a quick bio of what because I mentioned he was a country music legend, but like the song, his big single, just in case people don't.
Tombstone Every Mile.
Tombstone Every Mile.
I believe it was Capitol Records was who he was a recording artist for.
And he has a star on the Country Walk of Fame. Right?
So yes, he had a star. The Country Music Walk of Fame has changed in Nashville. Nashville has done a lot of remodeling and changing things. So it was then turned from a Walk of Fame into like kind of like a wall memoriam of people that were inducted in the years.
Yep.
I think my brother has since been down there and said that even that has changed since then. So I'm not sure what is going on down in Nashville as far as
they don't like your family.
They have a vendetta against the Curlesses.
Yes.
No. But yeah, that was true up until probably a decade or so ago. I did get to see it.
Yep.
Before it was taken down. Anyway, so he had a big single. It was in the era of truck driving music, which was a thing.
Yep.
He was his career was more diverse than that, but that is definitely kind of the genre that he got pegged into.
Yep.
A lot of gospel. I mean, the whole recording industry was very different then anyway. I mean, he was incredibly prolific with how many albums was put out. It's insane, actually.
I wanted to mention too, because it's my favorite part about all the pictures in your house. He wore an eye patch, correct?
He did wear an eye patch.
Can you elaborate on that? Was that more of a stage thing, or
it was
he
kind
like
of
walk
a signature
around?
move? It was a trademark. He used it most of the time, even in private life. It was on.
So he did have full 20/20 vision of both eyes.
No, it wasn't full 20/20. There was still something up with one of his eyes.
Yeah.
But
either way, I like it. I think it's great.
Like neat,
that's my most memorable thing of.
Ironically, and this where the holes in my memory is really good, but there was a contemporary of his that also had an eye patch. I wish I could remember his name, but I don't have a name for them. But anyway, back to him. He #1 single, or it was a top 10 charting single. Tombstone Every Mile.
Yeah.
And let's see. He was known as the Baron of country music. A little bit. First of all, extremely tall man. This is what I want to say.
Yeah. Wow.
Now, you and I are like 5'11", 6 foot.
Yep.
He was 6 foot. More. He was more than 6 feet tall.
Yeah.
He wore a size 13 boot.
Yeah.
And when I was a kid, a man that's over 6 feet tall was, I mean, gigantic.
Are you saying
gigantic.
like 6'4", 6'6"? Like what? How gigantic?
Isn't that funny that I don't know exactly?
Well, yeah.
how
I mean,
was,
especially like you said when you're a kid.
I wasn't really looking up stats on my
your
grandfather when I was.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. So here's you want a story, but let me just give you more of a perspective. Here's the weird thing. To me, he was just my grandfather, just like your grandfather was your grandfather.
Yes. Yeah. And people do forget that about celebrities.
So
they're human beings, just like you.
But for my whole life, it happens a lot less now. But complete strangers, as soon as they found out who I was related to, would just talk to me, and tell me how they loved my grandfather, and tell me some sort of. It's all positive. Remember, I never said your grandfather was an asshole. Oh, you're Dick Curless' grandson, and then they punished me for it in some way. But always positive. But it was something I really had to get used to. Is complete strangers, because they would talk to me with such a familiarity that was very often uncomfortable. Yeah. If you can imagine a 60-year-old person just launching into a really deep memory chat with like a 10-year-old kid who only cares about Transformers or Ninja Turtles or
oh, that's a great way to put it.
It's about something that your grandfather did as a job. Okay, so what did your just to put this in perspective? What did your father's father do for work?
He did a bunch of jobs, but
did he have a main job?
He delivery drove, like I think Nabisco. I want to say.
Okay, perfect. I love that. Stop right there.
Okay, that was one of his jobs.
All right, so you're 10 years. So you're 10 years old.
Yeah.
We were very into Ninja Turtles at that time, presumably.
Yeah.
Somebody finds out that you're your grandfather's grandson, and he's 60 years old, and he wants to talk about all the ins and outs of Nabisco and the delivery driving of that. And in the meantime, you're just like, I don't know you.
Yeah.
Really,
I don't want to know you.
It's it's not that you don't want. You're standing in between me and my ability to go watch Ninja Turtles right now. It was interesting. It was very interesting.
And he had hardcore fans, right? I think, correct me if I'm
Still
wrong,
does.
but
Still
I was going
does.
to say, when your brother went to Nashville, didn't a woman come up to him that had like your grandfather's lyrics or something tattooed on her?
She has a full-on portrait of my grandfather.
So who was this? This was a random woman or somebody he knew,
Man,
like your brother knew?
You're gonna put me on the spot on this. I just she has a band.
So she's a musician as well.
Well, she goes under the moniker Chick Curless.
Really?
Yeah, Chick Curless, and
that's great.
Honestly, just a YouTube video just popped up of her and their band playing. It was pretty cool. Yeah.
By the way,
full on portrait tattoo. It's pretty awesome.
And in my opinion, a way you can, if you're a celebrity and you want to ask yourself, have I made it? If somebody tattooed something on their body because of something you've created or done with your life, in my mind, that means you've made it. So if somebody ever tattoos Chas Bruns on their forehead, I'll be a happy camper.
Well, after this,
I know definitely. This is it, by the way, and this is the podcast of all podcasts. It's not like. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I just want to go. So that's not a very particular story necessarily about him. That is more about me growing up. And I will also say that I had a lot of people do that. My mother also, a whole family of musicians.
Yes, your mother's very talented.
My mother was a professional musician for quite a while.
And your brother is in bands.
My brother, but no one comes up. No offense to my brother. No one comes up to me and goes, "Are you Ryan Curless's brother?" And then they talk to me about.
That being said, though, we're not to diminish. Ryan is one of the most talented musicians I think.
I love my brother.
Come out of New England.
I love the bands that he's in.
Yeah, he's a drummer, by the way, but he does multiple stuff, right? He sings a little.
He plays tambourine too.
Yes, tambourine and the harp.
But my uncle was Bill Chinnick was a famous musician. Came out of like the Asbury Park. Came up around the same time. Actually shared bandmates with Springsteen. So growing up, all of the Curless kids, very used to strangers just going on and on about the admiration for the family. And I'm not disparaging. I think that's really great, but interesting from a child's perspective. Definitely peppered my outlook on what it might be like to be a famous person, because if you're related to a famous person and you're getting that, I cannot I don't know if I could handle actually being the famous person and having strangers talk to me all the time.
Now, do you think that turned you off to it? Yeah, because even we were talking last night about, Ian and I both used to play music, and he was like, I don't even know if I picked up a guitar if I'd bring me joy in the same way it used to. I'm not motivated that way. Do you think subconsciously in your brain you were kind of like, I don't want to be that thing my grandfather is? You know?
I don't think that's why
not why, but I mean
put
it
down or anything like that. I mean, I still like to play.
People grow out of things. The hobbies change.
Exactly. I think that's a lot of it. But growing up, it was definitely when you and I would go out and play stuff, and play shows.
Yeah.
It definitely came to mind as to just being in front of people and then having to talk to them after.
Yeah.
You know what I like? You know what? So here's a benefit to the growing up with famous family members.
Yeah.
I did have a lot of immediate access to backstage and meeting other people in the music industry.
Yeah.
That I like. And I think
fun.
I think that is because they're like-minded people. I might not be I didn't pursue actually the music career, but I still really do appreciate everything that goes into the production of a song. I actually enjoy that side more.
Yeah. Well,
as well as the live performance. I think if you put on a solid live performance, nothing can beat that at all.
Yeah.
So I really enjoy that. I'm very comfortable in a backstage or behind the scenes situation. I try to treat anybody like that, like they're normal people. It also is another, it's peppered my outlook on things, where if I do see celebrities in the wild, out in real life,
yeah.
I leave them alone.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, look, that's that guy over there. I don't even really, I mean, it probably, in some cases, would be nice if I went up and said, hey, man, I just wanted to say I really liked what you did in this.
Yeah.
I love this album that you put out, of this movie that you're in. But I just assume that, again, I was the family member of somebody getting strangers coming up to me, that he or she has already had that happen a dozen times that day.
Yeah.
And it may have no effect on them.
Yeah. But it also may.
It also may. But I also just like to let them be and just be like, you know what? I'll let somebody else gush in my place. It doesn't change my outlook. All right. So he did teach me to play guitar. So that's something I got.
That's pretty cool. Now, did you enjoy that process? Because when I took guitar lessons when I was younger, it wasn't fun. Your fingers hurt, and I remember arguing with my parents saying, I actually dropped out of my lessons and went and taught myself.
Well, it wasn't.
So was it fun? Like, was it a bonding experience, or were you like, Grandpa?
It was a bonding experience.
Okay.
It was. What was cool about it is it was okay. So he didn't 100% teach me everything about guitar.
Yeah.
But he did teach me some basic chords and where to put my fingers, and he didn't treat me like a little kid. Like, he knew that I could do it. He knew that it just was going to take practice.
Yeah.
And he started pretty simple, and bar chords were really one of the big things that he taught me that I really took and ran with.
Yeah.
So no, it wasn't. I did like it.
Yeah.
It was all simple blues stuff, really.
Yeah.
Blues based. We weren't doing scales. We were just doing like simple 3-chord structure. A couple where to place my fingers. He may have shown me. There's some variations that I do with maybe some of my a couple of my chords, E's and D's, with placements of my pinky.
Yeah.
That
he influenced.
Yeah, I think he may have shown me some things like that. That just like, it's an automatic stylistic go-to.
Well, I hate to interrupt, but it just crossed my mind because you mentioned how his music had an effect on you. Do you think he, in the reverse, looking at you, wanted you to go into music or expected you to? And did he ever talk to you about that or show, or were you too young? You know.
No. It wasn't talking. Definitely too young.
So he was just trying to help you have a new hobby as a young kid.
We all liked music. I wanted it.
But he never said like, "Oh, you're gonna you should sing country music and you're gonna be the next big star." Like, he never
didn't do that. But my whole family if there's one thing that we all can get along and enjoy and talk for hours about,
is music.
Yeah. 100%. And a huge variety of music.
But that's cool though that you didn't feel that pressure, because like my dad's a chiropractor, and I remember as a family member saying, "Oh, I'll probably have to become a doctor or you know, that you kind of have that thing." So that you never had that in your family.
No, it wasn't
like,
pressure.
You should all be musicians.
No,
so
if
Jackson
anything,
5.
it was like, if I wanted to do that, no one was going to discourage me from saying that that's not a possibility, because they'd all done it.
Yeah.
He was still doing it. My mother had done it. She gave it up to she would rather have been a mother to her 3 children than being on. I mean, it's not an easy job.
No.
Your hours are different.
Yeah.
You constantly have to be in front of people strangers and put on a good show. I mean, if you're going to be good at it, you can be an asshole and you can go out and give your absolute word. I don't imagine you're going to get very far with that. You're on an opposite schedule. You're traveling all of the time. Like, it's definitely easier, I would imagine, if you don't have kids or any other obligations.
I've noticed that, especially working in film and TV with the crazy hours, that a lot of America and the world really does think of entertainment as such a glamorous lifestyle, and it can be pretty miserable.
Oh no, it's a job.
Especially if you are on tour and you don't see your family and you're just dealing with yes men all around you all the time. And I don't know if that's how what your grandfather's situation was, because it was a different time in the music industry. But like, maybe he just wanted to be at home playing guitar with his grandson. And actually, that's a question I would like to ask you. Do you think he enjoyed being famous? Do you think was he more into the music portion and was I'm an artist, or do you think he kind of liked the showmanship and the fame and that portion? Like, I know it's tough for you to say as a young kid looking at him, but if you look back now, what would you guess?
I honestly couldn't speculate on that, other than I believe he enjoyed that. I mean, that's something he just loved music.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just evident by I think I've inherited, or it's still somewhere in one of the kids' family. We have his record collection from when he was a teenager. It's vast. Yeah. It's quite large.
Yeah.
He was very into the blues, and he liked music.
Yeah, so he was a musician first and foremost.
Definitely.
I personally think that's how it goes in life. Everybody I ever knew that was out in Hollywood or New York, wherever, trying to get fame, never got it. I think the quickest way to not be famous is to seek fame. You have to first be about whatever it is you're doing.
He wasn't seeking that. I think it goes without saying it was a job. I mean, obviously, if you can do that, then why wouldn't you do that versus shoveling coal?
Yes.
It certainly is more. It lends itself to being more glamorous.
I mean,
it still is work.
I would
still work.
If I could shovel coal, that is my dream job.
Well, not. I mean, I'm saying if that's.
No, I know.
If you have options, I don't think you're going to take that job.
I think
you're probably just your mind's going to gravitate towards what would seem like a fun job, and I'm sure it is a fun job, but I just want to say, like, it goes. There's work that goes into it. Like, it takes a lot of effort to be a true showman, and be. Now, I don't think it took a ton of effort for him all of the time, but he was at the end he was a born again Christian. He was a very very kind man, very giving man. He did a lot for just complete strangers. That's a lot of the stories that I heard, just nice things that he did.
By the way, in case anybody listening to this is saying, oh, well, he's his grandson, of course he's going to say that. Ian is one of the most kind-hearted and truthful people I know. He wouldn't sit here and BS the listeners. So if that's the case, I believe it.
But I'll tell you, thank you. I try to be a good person. I don't think I match what my grandfather did for just people. That he came across all the time.
It's interesting to me to hear you say that, because I've never truly, honestly, now that I think about it, in all our years, we've talked off and on about your grandfather, but not in depth like this. And so from the pictures and videos and different things I've seen, especially with the eye patch, especially me being young, in 6th grade at your house, hearing about the stuff, I think, oh, this is a badass pirate cowboy, tough guy. But so to hear that he actually was just a genuinely caring, kind-hearted guy later in life, or maybe his whole life as well, but at least from your perspective later in life, that's cool. I kind of for some reason assumed he was a badass tough guy. I don't know. I've never ever questioned that. I've always in my head just thought, Ian's grandfather's this badass.
I mean, it's got the look.
Yeah,
it's definitely got the look. That has the look so much that his likeness was the basis of a comic book villain in the Ghost Rider series.
Really?
Oh yeah, I have it somewhere. It's pretty neat.
That's pretty damn cool. Something I wanted to rewind to before I forget, because you mentioned
the Highwayman. That's what I think he was. It looks just like him. It's funny.
Yeah, that's cool. No, when you mentioned his record collection, I was thinking of other things that he owned. Can you explain this to me? Didn't at one point, I don't know if you still have it, I think your grandmother sold it, but didn't he have a train car in his backyard, like a full train or a piece of a train or something?
He had a full set of trains.
Like
Yeah.
it used to be a working caboose, or what was it?
It was on a set of tracks,
Yeah.
off of set of working tracks up in Bangor.
Yeah.
It was, let's see, it was a plow car.
Yeah. So a huge plow on the front.
Huge plow. Yeah. So
and you got to play on this
train,
as a kid.
Yeah, for when train was like train travel was more prevalent, and then I imagine they still use them now, but like in big areas where you get a large amount of snow.
Yeah.
Just like for roads, there's a plow front car that exists.
Yeah.
It's really cool looking. It's fun to climb on when you're like 6 years old.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, and then
it was nice inside. It was like furnished.
Okay, so hold on. There were 4 cars after that, I believe.
Okay.
There were a couple. There was a box car. There was a
4
box
cars.
car. Yeah,
I always assumed there was one car.
No, I think it's 4.
You had 4 train cars.
I'm going through it mentally. There was a
That's
box
cool.
car after the plow.
Yeah.
And then I think 2 passenger cars.
Yeah.
And then a caboose.
Okay.
That had like kind of like he sometimes utilized as like an office.
Really?
And
so,
yeah.
Wow. Okay. Because I
It
kind of
was
pictured.
neat. It was really
I've never
neat
seen it.
to grow up on. It's still there. It was
But
sold. I think somebody, the person that bought it, I think actually turned them into. He furnished it and kind of lives in it.
Okay.
Like
So
predating like tiny house stuff.
Yeah. And he lives. No kidding. Yeah. I remember when you would tell me this, because I never went to see it, but you would tell me this as a kid, and I for some reason pictured like an old rusty, dilapidated in a field thing. But you're telling me this was.
Well, it was rusty.
Yeah. I mean, it's old. It was old. Right?
It was old, and
do you know what
definitely
year?
part of it. No idea. Okay. Definitely part of it was dilapidated. I mean, we weren't supposed to play on it. It was at the edge of the property.
Yeah.
We weren't supposed to play on it.
Yeah.
We did.
Yeah.
You had to be careful.
Yeah.
A lot of the wood rails and steps and stuff were completely rotting away. So you had to be smart and step on the metal supports and not directly in the middle of the step that was going to give away.
Yeah.
I distinctly, and I was just talking about this a couple of weeks ago, we had a major snowstorm when we were growing up, when probably like 2nd grade or something like that.
Yeah.
And when you're in 2nd grade, you're not a very tall person anyway.
Yeah.
But we combine that with the amount of snowfall that we had that winter.
Yeah.
I took my sister out, Ashley.
Yeah.
We went and climbed. I had the genius idea to climb on top of the boxcar. I think it was the boxcar, because there were metal ladders attached to the side. You can climb up on top. Flat surface, safe.
Yeah.
Safe
for a second grader.
Safe for a 2nd grader to climb up on. And I had the genius idea to just jump off, because the snow was so deep. It was above our heads.
Yeah.
So you could just fall into a cloud.
Now, was he? You said he didn't really want you to play on them, right? But
he didn't. My parents didn't.
But so did he see these things as prized possessions? Like, was he into trains, or did he just buy this property and the train was already there? Like, how did he even come to have this train?
I don't know the story.
Because I always pictured that he was
definitely
like a train
bought
lover.
it. It wasn't just on.
Think about that, right? Say you're somebody that has this massive train. I'm assuming a company, American Railroad Company X or whatever, and they must be like, well, we've got this old train. We need to get rid of it. Do you think somebody approached him and they're like, hey, Dick Curless, you can afford a train? Or do you think he walked by it one day and was like, hey, bub, what are you doing with that train? And then how did he get it to his backyard? The tracks ran too close to the house.
I don't know. I mean, I assume a crane.
Really?
Right? I don't know.
So awesome.
Like I said, it sat on some tracks.
Yeah.
And was parallel to working tracks.
Yeah.
The house that he built.
Yeah.
Was near train tracks at the edge of the property.
Yeah.
The train would come through pretty regularly.
Yeah.
And we would, when we heard it coming,
Yeah.
It was really fun. You could flip the lights to the porch, up, off and on, and most of the train engineers that were
blow the horn.
They'd toot the horn. It was awesome.
Yeah.
There was like nothing cooler.
I was gonna say there is nothing. Even as a little kid, just doing it with the semi trucks going by.
Yeah,
I
was gonna say
train,
it's like that, but to be able to get a train to
and probably
honk the
5
horn
times as loud, right?
It was great.
Yeah.
It was absolutely great. Yeah, absolutely. A train horn is much louder.
I can imagine
than a semi.
Being the neighbor. Did you have close neighbors or not?
No, that was all. I mean, it was all rural.
I'm picturing the neighbors, right? And they're like, "Oh, did you hear Dick Curless bought a house? He's moving next door. Oh, that's neat." And then a crane shows up. It's bringing.
I don't know, but it's got to be
dropping a train in the yard.
I don't know how else it would have been.
That's so bad. Like, can you picture him standing there with his hand on his hip with his eye patch on, just looking like a badass as a crane drops a train in his back.
He also had a horse.
The man.
They also had a horse at one point.
Of course he did. Of course he.
They also had. That was technically my aunt's, I think.
Yeah.
He also had a fire truck on the property.
There you go. Why not?
An old engine. That was pretty neat. I can't.
Oh, a fire engine.
Yeah, fire engine. Yeah.
So was it like almost like was it a playground for you guys? Like, why is that? Almost sounds like Disney World, toys and animals. And
I treated it. There was a lot of stuff that you weren't supposed to touch. Yeah. Now he used the trains mostly as storage.
Yeah.
Okay. Just the same way that like somebody might get one of those like empty storage containers.
Yeah.
And put it on their property and use that.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that is the impetus of him having that on there.
Now,
it also is probably just, I don't know, it's probably cool if you had the opportunity.
Yeah.
To be like, I got some trains on my property.
Yeah, no, of course. That's what I'm saying. Like in my opinion, that's the epitome of like
I put stuff
man.
in there instead of in a storage unit.
Yeah,
I put it in my train.
Yeah. Now I wanted to transition here real quick because we were talking about whether he was into trains or whatever he was into. Obviously, we know he was into music. What else were his hobbies or passions? Like, do you remember? Did he like to go swimming? Did he like taking the dog for like what other things? I know it's different because he was older, right? He's your grandfather, so by that time,
you gotta remember,
that age, your hobbies kind of die off.
Well, you got to remember, he was working.
Yeah, so he was probably on tour a lot, right?
He's working
right up to the day he died. Or?
Not right up until, but right up until before he got sick and before he got hospitalized and stuff. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
he was working.
So he probably didn't have a lot of time for really much of anything.
No, that was what he did.
Yeah.
That's what he did. And when he wasn't doing that, it was like I said, he was a serious born again Christian. So there were daily devotional.
And your grandmother is as well, or no?
Yeah, she's Christian people.
How did that work family-wise? Was there ever any headbutting? Because I know not everybody in every family is religious. I'm not speaking of yours. I'm saying every family. There's people that are into it and they're not. Was that ever an issue with your grandparents and say your dad or anybody else, or was it?
No, I don't think so.
That's lucky. Because born again, I have a few born again Christians in my family as well, and that's definitely headbutts during Thanksgiving and.
Well, I think there is always an element of religion with my family.
No. Are you yourself? Do you consider yourself Christian or religious in any way?
Not at all.
So he did not rub off on you. You didn't say, "I'm going to be a born again."
As a kid, it was.
Did he expect you? Did he want you to go to church? Did you ever go to church with him?
I don't think I ever went to church with him.
Yeah.
There was a time before we moved up from Massachusetts that we were going to Sunday school.
Would he pray before meals?
Oh yeah.
The whole 9 yards.
Very much. Yeah.
Did he ever get mad at you about anything in terms of like morals and stuff? Like I remember my grandfather once caught me smoking a fake cigarette and gave me hell about it. So was there ever anything as a kid where he's like, "Ian, Jesus will judge you," or anything in that nature? No,
I don't. Nothing.
So that's cool. So he was a born again that didn't push it on other people. That's interesting to me because most.
I don't think he had to push it.
I don't mean to speak in generalities, but a lot of born agains can be.
No. I just don't think he had to. It wasn't like an agenda.
Yeah.
It was always in what he was.
Yeah.
He found a presence of God in everything. He was devoted, but he wasn't out on a crusade trying to recruit or
Yeah.
change everybody. He was just trying to live a really nice and honest and faith-based life.
That's cool. That's cool. On that note, actually, I was going to try to wrap it up for at least this portion. If you had a suggestion for any fans of your grandfather that are listening for a specific song that they should go and check out aside from that single,
all I would say is, I don't have a particular favorite song.
No.
His catalog is vast.
How many albums do you know?
I don't know. I mean, I know that Bear Family Records, which I believe is out of they're either out of Germany or Norway.
Yeah. They own his catalog?
No, they don't necessarily own his catalog. They put out 2 different box sets.
Yeah.
They were very large. I mean, by the way, a box set is when CDs were prevalent, and you used to get many CDs in one box, and they would come with a glossy book with a lot of information.
Yes.
Bear Family Records did 2 really great box sets of his music,
That's
and
cool.
they did a great job at talking about how he was more than just a truck driving song guy.
Yeah.
Because that was a fad. It was a trend.
Yeah.
It was brief. There were other people that did it, but I mean, he did more than that. He's a great singer.
The single that is a Tombstone Every Mile, that's correct, that's the title. I really do actually enjoy that song, though. And I would say if somebody out there is listening to this and they aren't aware or aren't a fan, they want to go check them out, I would listen to Tombstone Every Mile. Right?
I think it's a great place to start. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a catchy song.
Yeah.
I think there's other more dynamic songs that he's done that kind of show his vocal range and
Can you think of one off the top of your head?
No, I can't. I'm terrible at that.
He's rolling over in his grave right now going, what did I teach you
Probably.
with that guitar that day?
Yep.
Bad grandson. I'm just joking. You are an amazing human being. I'm sure he is looking down on you from the heavens with much appreciation.
Thanks.
And on that note, let me see if there's anything else on here. I did not think the computer would run this long, honestly. Okay, so you know what? This is the last thing on the list, and this can just be a quick answer. Not really quick, not like a one-sentence answer, but it's just kind of a small thing. Do you prefer, and I know you're in your own home, you like shoes off, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So it took me a long time.
I try to adhere to that. I'm flexible.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why I'm flexible on that right now. Is because
I'm going to argue against that because I think you can't be flexible. But keep going.
I'm flexible on it now.
Yeah.
Right now is because these floors and carpets in here are all getting replaced.
Yeah, so you don't care.
I don't care. We're not trying to preserve anything.
Yeah. Okay. Because for me, I agree as well for shoes off in the house. I think, say you live in LA or someplace where there's not as much sand and salt and mud and dirt as we live in Maine. So if you're and it's pretty much winter all year round of here, kind of. If you come into somebody's home, your own or anybody else's, you're going to track stuff in. And I have some roommates at my house, and I hope they don't listen to this podcast and get angry from this, but they don't
What are their names?
No, we're not going to go there. But they don't always remove their shoes. Sometimes they're in a rush or whatever. And I don't understand that, because then you're going to have the rocks and the sand and the salt and everything on the floor. And then the people who aren't wearing the shoes get on their socks. And I've taken my bed sheet off one day and been like, why is there asphalt crumbs in my bed? And I realized it's because I walked through a place they had their shoes on, and I get in my bed, which I shouldn't, it's strange that you'd think that even barefoot you could track that in, but you do. So yeah, I think, right. So we're both in agreement that that shoes off is the way to go.
Yeah, absolutely.
That are snowy, icy, whatever. So it'd be, I don't know.
If you live where you can get all the little rocks and stones and mud and stuff on your shoes, I don't want to step on that in my socks or my bare feet. So
we're not weird then, because some people get really weirded out when I ask them to take their shoes off.
Not by my count.
So you think there's people out there that they're just like mopping and sweeping every day? They're like, yeah, everybody wear the shoes, come on in, shoes on. And then at the end of the day,
I'm not gonna say that I mop and sweep every
other people.
Yeah, absolutely. I think people definitely do that every day.
That's crazy to me.
But
I'd rather just take the damn shoes off.
I just want to say, that's something to aspire to. I think you should probably clean your floors every day.
You should clean them up every day. I don't know about that. That's rough.
I think it's a good thing to be able to
It
aspire
takes-
to. I don't think it's that hard.
I'd rather just take the damn shoes off. It's easy.
Now that I'm thinking, I'm actually going to change my position on this.
Oh God,
No,
here we
just
go.
kidding. No, I vacuum up. I mean, especially with a pet, with a dog, you know, floor maintenance is a big deal.
Yes. Yeah, that's true.
But the underlying point is walking around in my socks. I don't want to step in a little melted piece of snow.
Yeah.
That you tracked in with your boot, or some mud or sand or anything like that. I don't want that on the bottom of my feet.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to track it through the rest of the house. So yeah, it's just easily solved by taking shoes off.
Now I'm kind of curious because we were talking earlier about people saying stuff in the YouTube comments. I'm curious to see if people agree with us. Do you think we're in the majority that most people in their houses take their shoes off?
I don't know. I once saw something that in a YouTube or a Instagram poll where people put milk in the bowl before they put their cereal in.
Yeah.
I honestly thought that that's just a joke. No one does that. But there were a lot of people that were defending that move.
Really? That's crazy. It would splash out everywhere as you poured the cereal in.
I would think that you would not be sure of the ratio of milk to
that
cereal.
As well.
That's my theory on that.
Yeah. But wow, yeah.
So, yeah.
And
so there's always going to be somebody that's going to take the opposite position, and they're going to be very emphatic, and they're going to feel the same way.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm actually excited for some of the YouTube comments.
P.S. The cereal thing, I'm sorry. The cereal goes in first, and then the milk.
That's your official.
I'm sorry, yeah.
Okay. Well, I think I'm just going to let people argue. Like, you can go on a tangent about whether you want to put the cereal first or not.
You do whatever's right for you, but you might be wrong.
And also, I do want to say, because I'm acting as though I'm some hoity-toity high guy that is always the shoes off in the house. I grew up, my parents, to this day, you don't take your shoes off. And it's funny, because I do prefer it. I like, for me, because I'm lazy, I guess. So I understand, like I was joking about my roommates, if they are in a rush and they just want to go in the house, I can see how they're like, they don't want to untie their shoes and go through the whole thing, especially if you've got big boots on. So I love when I go to my parents' house, I can just walk in and not worry about it. But then they are constantly having to sweep and mop and vacuum and do all this stuff. So I see both sides. I see both sides. On the milk and cereal, though, I do not. It's cereal first and then milk. I will not waver on that. And on that note, I think we've wrapped this podcast.
There's nothing left to talk about. I don't even know what you're going to talk about on your next podcast.
I don't know that we'll even release this. Ian and I, this whole weekend, I came down here to do carpentry with him and just hang out. We hadn't hung out in a long time. And he kept looking at me. He's like, dude, this is your podcast. Like, you need to come up, like, you need to have a format. You need to come up with questions. And I was like, I don't know. Like, random, I'll just write some stuff on a sheet of paper and we'll just talk. So hopefully you listened through the whole thing. I think we're probably about an hour somewhere in there now. And you enjoyed it. I might delete some stuff. I might edit. I don't know how it's going to go. But this really was winging it. We just did it by the seat of our pants. This is actually my dad's. My dad does a lot of recording music stuff, and he's out of town, and he didn't know that I stole his microphones.
Oh, wow.
Here.
Well, thank you for
thank you, Rick Bruns
for sponsoring this podcast. If you are in the greater Bangor area and you need your spine adjusted, please go see Dr. Rick Bruns.
Yes. And you do it quickly because he's getting close to retirement. And he's the best in the world, I would say. Thank you kindly.
Thank you, Rick.
So anyway, comment below, subscribe so you can hear the next podcast with Jana and whatever else comes after that. And we'll take her from there. Peace out, everybody.
Thanks.
Goodbye.